Smallville Season 2. So, if you missed it, basically last month I reviewed Smallville Season 1, and I'm trying to review each month a season of the show and lead up to the new Superman movie, Superman, and by James Gunn. So I got lots of Superman content planned for this year and next year leading up to that Superman movie. So if you're a Superman fan, you're going to want to subscribe. You're going to want to follow it. So I got big plans. I love my boy Soups. What can I say? Smallville Season 2 is, I think, a better season than Season 1. No doubts about it. But I will say that I do have more issues with it than Smallville Season 1. Just because Smallville Season 1 is just, it's got its growing pains. It's just kind of getting the show started. But as a setup and just the beginning of that show, it is fantastic. The second season furthers things in a lot of ways that are also really good. But then it also has some issues that I think definitely weigh down this season a little bit for me. Let's get into them. Let's start with what I like to do, my least favorite and best episodes of the season. My favorite episode of the season, you can't talk about this season and not talk about the episode where Christopher Reeve cameos. You got Tom Welling and Christopher Reeve in the same room. And that's a really great episode because you got Christopher Reeve cameoing in this episode to basically inspire Tom Welling to embrace his own path and find his own destiny. And that's an incredible episode. It's incredibly sad and heartwarming and just a great moment. And then it's definitely harder to watch now that Christopher Reeve's no longer with us. And also just, I have that Superman documentary that's coming out about Christopher Reeve on the mind. I got tickets for that on Wednesday. Definitely going to go and check that out. So that's another aspect that's adding some little bit of a heartwarming feel for certain feelings that I also really enjoy. I think it's episode 13. I could be wrong. The one where basically Clark's mom ends up in a kidnapping plot with Lionel. I like that episode quite a bit. That episode's really good. I like that episode because it starts off as a kind of exploration of Clark's parents' relationship, and then through the episode turns into more of a character piece about Lex and his father and their dynamics and things like that. That's really good. So those are a few of my favorite episodes. Least favorite, I don't think I really have any least favorites. I think this season, some had some of the weaker episodes, like the Monsters of the Week episodes, but they definitely felt like there was no episode that felt like the Amy Adams episode from season 1 where she's like a creature that's eating people and shit. It didn't, there's nothing like that in this season for me. So I don't, least favorite episodes, I don't, I'm sure there's one that if I rewatch the season right now, I probably could tell you, but off the top of my head, I can't think of one. And that's a pretty good sign, I would say. In terms of issues with this season, so this season, in terms of big developments, first of all, you get Clark revealing a secret to Pete. And this is where my big issue with the season starts. So this is just kind of a weird plot line that so many shows like to do, where characters have a secret Wizards of Waverly Place is a show I'm watching, and it's literally does the same thing. But for me, I just don't get why they did this with Pete, had Clark reveal his secret identity to Pete, because I think it's a good plot line, but the problem with that plot line is up until this point, for the past 2 seasons, Pete is a non-character. He does not really have any real major standout scenes in season 1 at all. I can't really tell you anything he said in season 1. So now he's in this episode, and Clark has to reveal his secret to him, and it made sense, and it worked for the episode, and all that, but it did feel like maybe if you were going to make that work, there needed to be more build-up in the episode to Clark, or not in the episode, but more build-up throughout the season, hey, maybe Pete's questioning you. You hear a lot of stuff about Pete's family, but you really don't see Pete's family, and I feel like maybe we could have developed Pete as a character throughout the season more, and maybe that could have been something. I don't know, but I mean, you got Lana who's questioning Clark's idea, what's going on with Clark. You got Chloe who questions what's going on with Clark. Lionel who's questioning what's going on with Clark. You got Lex who's questioning what's going on with Clark. All these characters questioning all these different things. All these characters could have found out it said as Pete, which I'm fine with because it makes sense, right? I get why they chose Pete, but it felt like it needed something more to make that plot line fully work. And it just felt like to me, if you were gonna bring that into this season, then develop Pete as a character, make him a real character. Because even in this show, I think they just wanted him to have a supportive figure to talk to that wasn't just Clark's parents. Because I imagine I'm sure network executives were watching the show going like, the show's popular, guys, but you got this teenage boy and he's talking to his parents. Like, teenagers watch the show. That's not really what they do. Uh, you know, at that age, they're a little more rebellious, things like that. So I'm sure that was maybe like a network thing too. I'm not sure. That's just speculation, but it did feel like it needed more build up. Other than that, I think this season's a really great season because you take all the elements that Clark learned from last season, his powers, things like that, but now he's actually been faced with more real challenges this season, where he's especially how the season ends. Very tragic things that happens with Clark's mother losing her baby, things like that. Clark's having to make some tougher choices this season, and also just really work to keep his identity a secret a lot more than he did in season one. And I think it's just really good at just developing this character. And I feel like it's just really good. Also, Tom Welling, I will say, in season one, he was a little bit more wooden. I think he was still trying to figure out the character, what he was doing with it. And so when you get to this season, I think he does so much of a better job of being that character. He really is Clark. He especially has some very emotional episodes. That episode with Christopher Reeve, as I mentioned earlier, it's just really great stuff. So if you're a fan of Superman and you don't watch Smallville, this is a great show. This is a great season, and we will be talking about season 3 in November.